The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into Students of the Game. My name is Alex Baumann, and I'm joined by my co-host today, Nathan Glidewell. Fortunately, Great Oldenburg could not be with us this week, but he probably wishes he was because Auburn gets a big win over number 15 A&M, and then Alabama loses to a 5-5 Oklahoma team. So, Nathan, unfortunately, Gray's not going to be here to give you the business when it comes to Alabama losing to a pretty subpar Oklahoma team. But let's talk about Week 13 in college football and talk about the Crimson Tide's loss to Oklahoma 24-3. And it's the first time since 2010 that Alabama has lost 3 games in a season. So it's been 14 years since Alabama fans have experienced a 3-loss season. Auburn fans, they experience it almost every year. So they're used to it at this point. Deontay Lawson lost for the season in this game, leaves with a lower leg injury. Kalen DeBoer announced on Monday he's out for the year. So that's a big loss for the Crimson Tide heading into Auburn. And then if we get any farther into a playoff run or a bowl game, that's going to be a huge loss going forward for the Crimson Tide. And before we get going with what happened in this game, the meat and potatoes of it, Nathan, let's talk about the Ryan Williams penalty. The most egregious call I think I've ever seen against the Crimson Tide since maybe Tennessee a couple of years ago. Ryan Williams scores a 34-yard touchdown reception on a 4th down with 14:07 left to go. And one of the craziest catches I think we've seen all season in college football. But it's wiped off for a legal touching penalty because the ref said he was covered up. I mean, what are your thoughts on such an egregious miss from the referee in a momentum-shifting play?
Well, first off, I think we need to talk about Alabama up until this point. Before the penalty is called, they have shot themselves in the foot countless times. I mean, they're losing the game themselves. Oklahoma has done, their job for the most part to put us in this situation. But Alabama has put themselves in a really just out of character situation, down 24-3. It's bleak at this point, but you definitely don't need the officials to help Oklahoma any more than they did. Alex, if you want to go ahead and show the people what we're talking about. All right, so this was called illegal touching. And for people who are confused, I really thought it was illegal formation at the first point where it was called, but it was called illegal touching. Apparently, the line judge who made this call, which was late, you can see on the broadcast, said that Ryan Williams was covered up by Caleb Odom on the outside. Well, I'm pretty sure everyone with eyes who can look at that can clearly see that Caleb Odom is clearly off the line of scrimmage, not covering up Ryan Williams. It really just makes me mad that we continuously have these type of calls in games that in most places really just control the outcome of the game. This one, I don't think so as much just because of where Alabama was at the time. But still, this is a huge momentum swing. Alabama scores a touchdown. You don't know what they're able to do on defense or on offense because that builds momentum for a team. There's still a whole quarter left to play up until this point. You take that away, it's over. And that's exactly what happened. I don't understand why we don't hold officials accountable in the SEC. This has been going on for far too long, previous years, but especially this year, it has been probably the worst year for SEC officiating. And I think what pisses me off the most is that Greg Sankey has up until this point said that the SEC officiating is the golden standard for all college football, that they should look to SEC officials to see how to officiate games. It is some of the biggest bullcrap I've ever seen. Greg Sankey needs to come off his high horse and actually start watching some of these games where they are absolutely controlled by officiating. It is terrible to watch. I'm sure every single fan base across the SEC can agree with me on this point that something has to be done. These officials need to be held accountable and need to start losing their jobs over calls like this because it is controlling the outcomes of games. It's the same thing. We're broken records on here because I keep saying it. It's controlling the outcomes of games, and that is one thing as an official you cannot do.
It's beyond frustrating. I don't get how as an official, and then they were huddled up together, so obviously they were talking about it, how somebody else in that huddle didn't address this and say, hey, man, that was not illegal touching, or that may be illegal formation. That's not the right call. But no, the white hat, nothing. Everybody agreed with this call and made that. And unfortunately for Bama fans, if it was in Tuscaloosa, all they had to do was throw trash on the field, and we would have got the call reversed, because it's the same crew from the Georgia-Texas game. When Texas fans threw trash on the field, the call was reversed. So if it was in Tuscaloosa, it might have had a different call on the field. We don't know, because these officials aren't held accountable. On Monday, it's Monday, and there's yet to been a statement made by Greg Sankey, the head of officials, SEC offices, nothing. Radio silence. And one thing I saw over the weekend, somebody pointed out, was players after the game have to talk to the media, coaches have to talk to the media after the game, but the officials, they have to do nothing. They just go to the locker room and they're good to go. When are we going to start holding officials accountable for missing these calls? And I get it. Bama's still down 2 scores at that point. But the momentum shift you saw from the Bama sideline after that Ryan Williams catch, you felt there was energy there. That's something you can build off in a fourth quarter. You can't tell me that Alabama's offense, while it did struggle in that game, cannot have rattled off 2 touchdowns in 14 minutes and made some defensive stops in the process. You can't tell me with a straight face that's not a possibility. But as soon as that call was made and that touchdown was wiped off the board, the energy was gone in the building for Alabama. It was dead. You could see it visually on the field. These players, they were demoralized, and I don't blame them. The official, that's the most egregious thing I've ever seen in a college football game. That is piss poor performance from the official. I temper myself from calling for his job, but if you can't do your job correctly, you shouldn't have it. If I went into work tomorrow and didn't do my job properly and made that egregious of a mistake, I would lose my job. Nathan, if you went to your job and you made a mistake on an order and you didn't deliver it properly and it was egregious to a big client, you would be jeopardy losing your job, would you not be?
Oh, no, 100%.
So Greg Sankey has to take a stance here, because if this continues to happen for his conference, what's going to happen to the integrity of the sport? It's already damaged as is. Not just this play, but the entire season. We can have a whole show of SEC officiating mistakes this season, and then other conferences. The ACC has been just as bad. We can talk about the Miami-Virginia Tech game. It's going to get to the point where officials need to not be part-time anymore, and they need to be full-time. The conference is making enough money to do it. The SEC got $1 billion media contract, so you can't tell me they don't have money to pay full-time officials. Stuff has got to change around the country when it comes to officiating. And no, this officiating mistake didn't lose Alabama the game or win Oklahoma the game, because Alabama made tons of mistakes right to go over here. But that's a momentum shifting play that could have changed the outcome of the game. And we won't ever know what was going to happen if that touchdown was left on the board, because the official took it into his own hands to make the most stupid call this season. Awful. But Nathan, let's move on from this terrible officiating crew and their job that had this game. And let's talk about what actually happened. How did Alabama manage to score 3 points against Oklahoma and allow this team to beat them 24-3? I mean, how does Alabama go from shutting out Missouri and destroying LSU to losing to a 5-5 Oklahoma team who had won one game in the SEC up to this point?
Well, I would say it was because we were looking forward to the Auburn game, but guess what? That's not the case. I know that they were focused on this game. It's a matter of not coming out and executing. I don't know where their headspace was at when they entered the game. No one looked like they really gave a shit. I'm sorry. That's the way it looked on TV. I'm sure that people who were at the game could tell you the same thing. I mean, just no effort, really. And I will start with Jalen Milroe, because he is the one who made the mistakes. He made the majority of mistakes. He is the leader of the team. He is going to be held accountable. I know you're going to say he's just a kid and he's in college. Well, guess what? He's getting paid millions of dollars. He's on NIL. So I'm going to hold him accountable for the job he is doing, which was unacceptable. You want to talk about people not doing their jobs? Jalen Milroe, you are not a running back, son. You are a quarterback. You wanted to be a quarterback. Bill O'Brien once told you were not a quarterback, and you wanted to prove him wrong. You did not this game. I can tell you that much, son. I mean, you made some stupid decisions. And I can forgive you if it was one pick or maybe even two if it wasn't really your fault. All three of these picks really were your fault. I mean, it's a problem of him not getting north and south on quarterback runs, on read options. He is constantly pulling the ball from the running backs. I don't understand it. We're trying to run an offense here, and it is just being dominated by one guy. And guess what? Unfortunately, this is a team sport. One guy can't make a whole entire difference every single game. Oklahoma basically came out and said, we're not going to let Jalen Milroe do this. And guess what? We were so hard-headed enough not to change our damn play calling. So Nick Sheeran, I don't understand why you still have a job, man. Like, you constantly called QB power every single down, and it didn't work. It didn't work, and you didn't take account of that. You didn't make adjustments, and you came out at halftime and did the same shit. I don't get it. It is infuriating that as an Alabama fan, I had to witness my team play this piss poor. 3 points in an entire game. You're telling me every single person we have on that team, the amount of talent, the amount of 5 stars, the amount of money that we put into the damn team, we can't score a touchdown? I know one was taken away. But it is still unacceptable that we put up 3 points. Jalen Milroe, you got to be a leader on this team. And you were not this game. You did not make efforts on anything, and especially the pick six you threw. Piss poor effort on tackling. You just jogged your way up the field and threw yourself out of bounds. I don't know. I know you make millions of dollars. I know you probably don't give a crap about football. I don't know where your future lies. I don't want you to come back next year. I want someone new at the helm. I've been a supporter for way too long. I try to back him up, and he's pushing me off a cliff here. And guess what? I'm not going down with you. You've dug my grave and yours. I'm not going down with you. I am an naysayer now. Let all naysayers know. You're going to have to let me know. I'm a naysayer now. I feel bad for guys like Ty Simpson and Austin Mack because I know they are talented enough to run this offense. I really hope that there's something like learning. I don't get it. I don't get it. You're telling me those 2 other quarterbacks on your roster are not good enough to come in this game and execute the offense. Because Jalen Milroe cannot execute the meat and potatoes of a passing offense. He is a running back who's playing quarterback. This is not a wildcat formation. So if you want to be a running back, go be a running back. But do not try to play at quarterback anymore if you want to keep running the ball the way you did Saturday. Absolutely unacceptable. And it's not all on him. Offensive line, you got bullied all night. Elijah Pritchett, go ahead and pack it up. Looking for me, you can come back in because you look like he did when he was playing against USF. So I don't understand what's happened from the time you got the starting job to now for you to be this bad. CJ Free, your net's up on the chopping block, son. Do you have hands? Do you know how to use them? Do you know how to catch a football? You certainly didn't do that. You certainly couldn't block. I don't know why you were out there. I mean, you just waddled around the entire time. I know it's easy for me to say this because I'm not in your position, but Lord, son, you're a college athlete. You need to start executing. You are on scholarship. You are starting for the University of Alabama, and this piss poor effort does not cut it. And there are people behind you that certainly want it. Because I saw Josh Cuevas bring his ass in and immediately make a one-handed catch and made a difference. So why can't you make two-handed catches? That's up on the chopping block. Ryan Williams. I don't know what you're doing this week. Definitely not focused on this game because you're too busy recording videos with Baby Gronk and caring about him rather than catching footballs. And I know you're very talented. You certainly made it in this game, but the entire first quarter, you cannot catch a ball, son. We got to move the ball. We got to have success. And you were not part of that. You're one of the reasons why we lost. And I'm holding you accountable for it. Gosh, man. And I didn't even start on the defense. I mean, the defensive line. Shredded. Absolutely bullied. You can talk about the lines in this game? Absolutely bullied. Kane Womack. Son, you just reverted back to we were playing Vanderbilt. Oklahoma ran the same exact offense that Vanderbilt ran. The whole shovel pass, read option bullshit. And you did not know how to defend it. Justin Arnold basically ran the ball the entire time. He had like 68 passing yards the entire game on 9 completions. What are we doing? Sack the box. They can only run. They have 5 injured receivers. Why? Why, dude? I mean, you're getting paid to coach, and you don't understand. It is so hard for me to continuously watch us come out in these crappy formations and not understand how to make adjustments. What did we do? Did we watch film? Did we do our research? Obviously not. Justin Arnold looks like Cam Newton out there. I don't And, it wasn't enough favors that we gifted Oklahoma pretty much 14 points. I mean, that's pretty much part of the game right there. But defense, you were Swiss cheese. This game could have been a lot worse. Oklahoma got down to the red zone multiple times, and they crapped their pants. And you let them do it all over again. I mean, they basically said, we're running the ball down your throat, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's no leader on this team. No leader. We're back to the Vanderbilt game standards. There's no damn leader on this team. Malachi Moore, you've been silent as a church mouse. You haven't said anything. John Campbell, where are you? I mean, you ran your mouth before the game. I haven't heard anything after that. Tyler Booker, you got bullied all game. I haven't heard anything from you after the game. Jalen Milroe, you just spewed some PR bullshit to all the fans after, we got to focus on the next game. Well, guess what? You're throwing games away actively. There goes the playoff chances, pretty much. Bye-bye. All you have to do is take care of business. You had to win 2 more regular season games. You couldn't do that. I don't understand. This is the worst game I've ever watched as a Bama fan in my entire lifetime. The piss poor effort was what really kills me. I mean, I can forget the Vanderbilt loss. Vanderbilt just came in and executed on all fronts. Oklahoma didn't do that. They made mistakes. They constantly made mistakes, and we didn't take advantage of it. So at the end of the day, I'm going to sit here and continuously be mad about this game. I know it's in the past. I know I should probably move on. But if you want to mark a day where I realized Alabama was finally mortal once again, it'd be this day. Because the Nick Saban Alabama teams that I've watched in the past don't have games like this. They don't have games like this. Do they have the game like they had against Vanderbilt? Yeah, that happens. That's football. A game against Tennessee, sure. Yeah, that happens. This game was unrecognizable as a Bama fan. I'm sorry. I mean, was Mike Jewell on the sideline again? I don't get it. I don't get it. Kalen DeBoer, you got to be more animated. If you want to be the head coach of Alabama, you got to be able to get up in someone's face and get them to actually start doing their damn job. Or guess what? You're going to lose yours. That's going to be the meat and potatoes of this conversation. Do your damn job or you're going to lose it. That's all I got to say.
It's beyond frustrating to watch this Bama team play this game. Milroe, I don't get it. The play calling wasn't helpful, but as the quarterback, you have the ability to check a play call. And when the entire defense is on the line of scrimmage and you proceed to go with a QB power and don't check out of it, audible out of it, something, it shows me all I need to know about you as a quarterback. You have no ability to read the defense properly, no ability to audible. We can sit here all day and blame Nick Sheridan. We can sit here all day and blame Jam Milroe. It falls on both their shoulders. Neither of these guys have seemed to be on the same page all season. If the QB run doesn't work for either of them, the whole playbook goes up in flames. Nick Sheridan can't figure it out. We don't know we have running backs on the roster. Jam Miller, Justice Haynes, non-existent in this game all season. When they do get carries, have been very good. They're averaging, I believe, over 5 yards per carry. So it's not like they're getting 2 yards per carry, struggling to do it. We're doing a great job. We just don't hand them the football. Nick Sheridan, it's beyond frustrating watching you try to call an offense. And Jalen Milroe just doesn't help. I don't understand the marriage between these two people. It's the worst coordinator-quarterback duo I have seen at Alabama in a very long time. Very long time. And that's saying something considering the coordinator and quarterbacks we've had in the past. Defensively, why on a 3rd and 1 is there 3 down linemen? It's not like Oklahoma's been passing the ball the entire game. They ran the ball down our throats. And on a 3rd and 1, we have 3 down linemen. Kane Womack, son, do we not look at that and go, maybe they're going to run a read option or they're going to run the ball here? Perhaps we put 5-7 people in the box like Oklahoma's doing to stop our run. Maybe we find success there. No, we're going to keep 3 in the box and they're going to get the first down. And then we have pass rushers not setting the edge, blowing past the quarterback, allowing Jackson Arnold to get outside the pocket and get 5-10 yards of carry. We have Jamarian Latham, for some reason, playing outside linebacker at 270 pounds. Not sure what the reason for that is. Jamarian Latham is athletic, but he's not athletic to keep up with quarterbacks like Jackson Arnold. So neither coordinator has – it's like we revert back to Vanderbilt. We had done great for 3-4 weeks. And then we play Oklahoma, and we crap our pants. Going into the offseason, I know we're 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away, or 3 games away from it. These coordinators, you're coaching for your life here. You're coaching for your life. If you don't get your shit together, you need to go. And I hate calling for people's jobs. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. But when you continually don't do your job properly and don't implement your play calling correctly and prepare your players correctly, you don't need to be coaching at Alabama. The standard is high, and you have not lived up to it, coaching or players. It's beyond frustrating, but it starts at the top with Kalen DeBoer. Paul Feinbaum said he is a mannequin that just uses ChatGPT answers when he at a press conference. I don't disagree with him. Kalen DeBoer is not animated at all, and maybe that's not the type of person he is. And I understand that. But the answers he gives just don't inspire anybody. We're worried. Bama fans are worried. I mean, where's the accountability? And you don't single out your quarterback and say Jalen Milroe played like crap. You don't single out certain players. But there was no accountability. There's nothing, our offensive line, they got to step up. No, we're Jalen Milroe. We didn't help him out enough. How much do you need to help out a quarterback? He's the leader of the team. He should be helping out the team. He should be making your team better. And for Kalen DeBoer to not hold his team accountable really just shows all you need to know about the foundation of this program under him. There's no accountability. There's nothing. And I'm not expecting him to go up there and curse out the reporters and curse out his players and berate them, but there's got to be accountability. And right now, it doesn't appear there is any. And I don't want him to sit there in front of the meeting and call everybody out, but he has got to do something because this is not what Bama fans and people around the country are used to at Alabama. Shit's got to change, and it's got to change fast. Let's move on from Alabama, Nathan, because
I'm Alabama'd out. I'm good.
Let's talk about Auburn. This is, if you're an Auburn fan, this is great because they host Texas A&M at home and beat them 43-41 in 4 overtimes. We know Auburn fans, Nathan, their blood pressure was through the roof throughout that game. Get out to a 21-0 lead, and you're in overtime with A&M. And the Aggies had a chance to tie the game in the 4th overtime. The receiver just dropped the pass. But Auburn, to get this big win, to have 1 win away from bowl eligibility, going against Alabama. I know it's in Bryant-Denny, but this is a big win. This is something as a program you could build momentum off of because you've seen the improvement game after game. What were your thoughts on how Auburn battled in this game, Nathan, and how they've improved throughout the season thus far?
I will come out and say that's a team who wanted the win. They wanted it more than A&M did. What this means for them going forward, this is basically like turning a corner. This was a win Auburn has needed for a long time to get back to where the program has been in the past. They want to be able to compete for national championships. They want to make the playoff. This was the win to basically put everyone on notice that you want to start doing that. I think we've talked about Peyton Thorne all year long and crapped on him for how he's played. He came out in this game. He looked phenomenal. He made pretty much every correct decision you could. I know he had 1 interception, but looking away from that, he utilized his playmakers extremely well. Cam Coleman getting this many targets and this many catches, it really transformed the Auburn offense from what it was against Vanderbilt, where they couldn't move the ball down the field at all, to where it was against A&M, where they were having no problem at all moving the ball. That Auburn defense, they played great. They had points where they gave big plays. I think that's one thing Hugh Freeze will need to address, cutting down on explosive plays. But for the most part, they played a really solid game. I mean, it's a really talented team. The freshmen on the team are really, really talented. They have a great incoming class. It's just going to be about developing these players further and continuing to be on the right path. They're on the right path right now. They have a hard game against Alabama, but tell you what, you win the Iron Bowl, you have officially turned the corner. I know I'm saying that now, but that will be another huge stepping stone for Hugh Freeze and this Auburn team. But I was flat out just impressed with the way Auburn handled themselves and the way they finished the game, really, because they have not been able to finish games all season long. They come out 4 overtimes, and they end up winning it. They were able to get over the hump of that, and that was extremely huge for Auburn in this game. Texas A&M going forward, you got to match up against Texas, but I mean their playoff hopes kind of died there. You want to be able to make the playoffs, you got to be able to go into these hard environments and win games like this, and they just weren't able to in this situation.
Kind of like Oklahoma, Auburn's lines dominated this game. Mick Scourton for A&M, I had to look and see if he actually played the game because he recorded 0 sacks. So Auburn's offensive line did an amazing job for Peyton Thorne protecting him and for Jarquez Hunter to allow that run game to start working. So kudos to this Auburn offensive line that earlier in the season looked piss poor. So this team all around has continued to improve and improve week after week. And while results haven't been what they wanted them to be all season, this is something going forward, whoever the quarterback is, whatever the changes are made, you can hang your hat on. You can build your program on. This could be a stepping stone win. The marquee win you look at is we beat number 15 A&M because we played a complete game. All facets, defense, offense, and even special teams. Their third string kicker came in and was 2 for 3 from field goals, made all his extra points, and the field goal he made in overtime, they haven't been able to hit that all. They've been able to hit that all season. So Auburn continues to improve week after week, and this is a great win for them going into the Iron Bowl. They have momentum. Alabama doesn't. So this Iron Bowl this upcoming week is going to be a very interesting one, even though Auburn hasn't won in Bryant-Denny since 2010 in the comeback. Some other games, Nathan. Number 2, Ohio State beat number 5, Indiana, 38-15. Before Alabama and the late slate of games Ole Miss played, everybody was talking about how does Indiana deserve to be in the playoff with just this one loss? Granted, they had played a pretty weak schedule up to that point, but they had dominated their opponents. Do you think Indiana is going to make noise in the playoff if they were to make it?
It's hard to say because I think there are points in the Ohio State game where they were able to compete. They really came out and punched them in the mouth early, which I liked. I felt like Kirk Cheney had them in the right mindset coming into this game. But I think what you need to really address is the amount of talent Ohio State has compared to the amount of talent Indiana has. Both teams are very tremendously talented, but there's certainly a gap that you can easily recognize. And Ohio State basically just ended up taking advantage of the talent gap and ended up leaning on Indiana. And unfortunately, Indiana didn't have enough to be able to really keep up with Ohio State on either end of the field. I saw a lot of competitiveness. I think the team certainly has heart. I think they could make noise in the playoffs. They certainly are able to. I think any team really in this day and age would really be able to. But do I think they could win the whole thing? No, I don't think so. Do I think they can make a deep run if they started in one of these non-auto bid spots? No. If they go up against an SEC team, I really don't think they'll compete well. And I will stand by that. Football is different in the SEC. I know people want to kind of make an example of what happened this past weekend as kind of like, oh, Indiana lost to Ohio State, the number 2 team in the country. And then you have Ole Miss and Alabama losing to 2 very bad teams in the SEC. I think that just goes to show the competitiveness that is the SEC compared to what is the Big Ten, because the gap between the teams in the lower tier of the Big Ten compared to the higher tier is a lot bigger than the talent gap in the SEC. But besides that, I think Indiana has done everything right this season. They have done everything right to get their program moving forward, especially if you want to talk about recruiting. I think Kirk Cheney will have a huge leg to stand on, and this was very needed. If you want to talk about playoffs, it's a breakdown of, are you a deserving team or are you one of the best teams? Because do I think Indiana's one of the best teams? No. Are they deserving? I think so, absolutely. You end up finishing the season, you take your business next week against Purdue, and you end up with 1 loss. I think you're certainly deserving of making the playoffs. I don't think you're the best team. I don't think your fan base should act like you're one of the best teams, because you're not. But you should definitely be proud of where you were and how you competed Saturday, even though it's not the outcome you wanted.
Talking about another you kind of talked about a little bit, Nathan, the Ole Miss loss. They lose to Florida 24-17. Jackson Dart, with under 2 minutes left to go, throws 2 interceptions, one of which he threw an interception. It was called back because the corner didn't come down with the football. And then the next play, he throws an interception right back to the defense. And while kind of like with Alabama, that doesn't all fall on the quarterback play, but Ole Miss, they got the marquee win over Georgia, and it looked like all they needed to do was win out. And you fall against a Florida team who's trending in the right direction, but this is a must-win game. Lane, what does Lane Kiffin do from here? You have the roster, you paid a lot of money to build it up, but at what point do people get tired of Lane Kiffin and this inability to win games he's supposed to win?
I think we're gonna go back to the Lane Kiffin and James Franklin talk. And it's unfortunate because they beat Georgia. They took care of business, and it was very simple. It was a simple formula for them to finish the season and make the playoff. They were going to be in if they just took care of their business. But it goes back to every given Saturday, a team can come out and win, especially in the SEC. Florida, very talented. They had a intensely hard schedule. They've had to deal with multiple injuries on both sides of the ball. I don't think the coaching has been superb, but I'm going to tell you, they were prepared to come out and win Saturday. The swamp was full. I get what time the game started. They didn't care. They came out and they showed up and they supported their team. The team recognized that. They were prepared. They had a great week of practice, and they come out against an Ole Miss team, and they said basically, we can't really do anything we wanted this season. Our goals have probably been lost already, but we can still ruin other people's goals. And that is exactly what they did. Billy Napier, I thought he really had the team ready, which was something that should have been addressed this season in a lot more of his games, where I thought the team just necessarily wasn't prepared properly. I thought he did a great job this game. DJ Lagway, he is tremendously talented. This is one of the best teams I've seen him play. They really took advantage of the Ole Miss defense, and basically was able to march the ball up and down the field on them. They were able to take advantages of the mismatches. And I will say this about the Florida defense: getting turnovers is a perfect way to create upsets. When you take away teams' possessions like Ole Miss, it puts them in such a bad spot that they are not able to recover from it. Ole Miss is a offense first team. They are not someone who relies on their defense. They aim for shootouts. They aim for being a front running team. You take away their possessions and you control the time of possession, you control the ball. That's a recipe for success. And that's exactly what Florida was able to take care of business in this game with. And I know it's easy to say, they probably should have fired Billy Napier by now. But when you have wins like this, it shows that the program is slowly moving forward. I know there's not been drastic steps, but this is a sign that it's getting better. So keep having patience with Florida if you're a Florida fan, because I think Billy Napier will end up taking you to the right spot. For Ole Miss fans, you can't really blame this all on Lane Kiffin, because unfortunately Lane Kiffin can only do so much. He can't go out there and execute. Jackson Dart, as a veteran quarterback, needed to come out and play a mistake-free game, and he didn't do that. It's not all on him. It's a team sport. You win as a team, you lose as a team. Same thing goes for Bama. I probably didn't say that well enough. I called out way too many players, but Lane Kiffin ultimately should take responsibility, even though I don't think it's completely his fault. I think all their goals this year, I think it should have been not just making the playoffs. I think one of the bigger goals, I know it's kind of crappy to call a team out for wanting to beat another team, but beating Georgia was huge. Getting over that hump of beating a huge marquee team, that's huge. You've laid the groundwork for teams moving forward for Ole Miss to be able to continuously win matchups like that. But you also need to recognize and say, we weren't able to take care of business against teams that we should have beat. these teams like Kentucky and Florida that were lesser opponents in our eyes, that we were more talented than, that we were a better team than, we should have came out and taken care of business against them. That is something you need to put on the bulletin board and say, we need to take care of business this next time. Unfortunately, this season, you're not going to make the playoffs. I don't think it's going to happen. You need major chaos in the final week of the season. It's probably not going to happen, but it's not a wash season at the end of the day. Might seem that way for Ole Miss fans, but it's not. You gotta be optimistic. You gotta recognize the good and the bad. And this is certainly one of those times.
Maybe we should take our own advice when it comes to Alabama, Nathan, about that. Just taking a deep breath and taking it a season at a time. Because
no, it's a different situation. Let's be honest. It's a different situation.
To be fair, though, both these teams, they win the games they're supposed to win, which makes fans excited for the future. But then you go and lose the teams you're not supposed to lose to. Alabama, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma. You're not expected to lose to those teams. Tennessee, Bama fans can accept that. If Kalen DeBoer had lost 3 games and it had been to Georgia, Tennessee, and somebody else, that was LSU, those were the 3 losses, Alabama fans would have been upset with those losses. They'd have been much more understanding that it's your first year under Kalen DeBoer. We're going to lose to these veteran head coaches, these teams that have been established in the SEC for a minute under their head coaches. But Kalen DeBoer loses to 2 teams, Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, who are inferior opponents. They have talent. They just don't have the talent Bama has. So that's where – and then Ole Miss. You lose to Kentucky, who for sure is not as good as you. And then you lose to Florida, who, while they have talent and they're trending in the right direction, don't have the same talent level as Ole Miss. So it's the same. I hate to put them in the same breath, but they're in the same situations where the head coaches are winning the games. They make their fans excited, and they're like, the 1 week we're making the college football playoff, we're winning the whole thing, and then the next week you lose to an inferior opponent, and we're burn it all down, fire the head coach, get this quarterback off the team, all that type of stuff. They're in the same situation, and going forward, you got to figure it out. You got to win the games you're supposed to win. That's the most important thing, and go from there. You can't lose to inferior opponents in the SEC and expect to keep your job. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for listening and watching, students of the game.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.